On the far edge of Huntsville, where the pines press tight against the road and the air smells faintly of resin and swamp, there's a stretch of cracked blacktop that the locals only ever call the Demon Road. It's not on most maps anymore. The county tried to rename it in the 70s, hoping the rumors would die down, but everyone still calls it the same thing. The story goes that the land itself remembers things, lynchings, murders, and darker things no one's willing to say out loud, and that the pavement, patched and crumbling, just sits on top of something that doesn't ever sleep. I first heard about it in college from a guy named Ray who grew up near Huntsville. He was the kind of kid who laughed too loud and drank too much, but when he mentioned that road he got quiet in a way that didn't fit him. He said he drove it once at 17 on a dare, and when his headlights hit the tree line he saw shadows slip across the asphalt shapes that moved too fast and bent too sharp to be deer. He swore something ran beside his car on two legs, keeping pace until he floored it back to town. He said he never went near it again. Everyone else laughed, but I kept the name tucked away. Years later, when I was stuck in Houston working a job I hated, I remembered that conversation. I was drinking too much then, restless and reckless, and one Friday night I decided to drive out and find it. The air was thick with humidity, crickets screaming in the grass as I wound through narrow county roads that seemed to bend forever. Around midnight, I found the turnoff unmarked, just a strip of cracked asphalt curling into the woods. I knew right away it had to be the place. The road swallowed me. The trees on either side leaned in, their branches knitted overhead until the stars vanished. My headlights stretched out maybe 30 yards before dissolving into black. The pavement was broken in places, weeds punching through, and every bump echoed like a gunshot inside the car. I rolled down the window to let in the night air, but it was heavy, sour, like wet leaves and something faintly metallic. At first it was just quiet, too quiet in fact. No insects, no owls, just the hum of my engine. Then I realized the temperature had dropped. I had the AC off, but the sweat on my arms cooled, prickling into goose flesh. I drove maybe a mile deeper before I noticed the eyes. Not headlights, not reflectors' eyes. Pairs of them scattered along the trees, low to the ground at first, then higher, then much too high for any animal I knew. They blinked in unison, red as brake lights, and then disappeared. I kept telling myself I was seeing things, that the darkness was playing tricks on me. But then I smelled it burnt hair and copper, the stink of a slaughterhouse. My stomach lurched, and I nearly turned around, but some stupid pride made me press on. I told myself I wouldn't spook easy. The road dipped down into a hollow, and that's when I saw the handprints. White, chalky smears on the asphalt, dozens of them, some small as children's, some long and twisted. They trailed off into the woods. My headlights caught something pale between the trees, a figure that slipped away before I could focus. My pulse thudded so loud I could hear it in my ears. I rolled slower, trying to convince myself to keep calm, when something slammed against the side of the car. Not a branch, not debris, something solid. The whole vehicle shuddered, and in the corner of my eye I caught movement. Something crouched low and fast skittering into the dark. My foot hit the gas, tires squealing on cracked pavement, but the thing kept pace. I didn't dare look fully, just glimpses of pale limbs bending wrong, joints jutting sharp. It didn't run so much as crawl alongside me, its face inches from the glass. I'll never forget that face. It wasn't human, but it wasn't animal either. Stretched skin, a mouth too wide, teeth catching the beam of my headlights. It smiled. I tore through that road faster than I thought possible. My headlights flicked over trees carved with symbols, crude crosses, spirals, shapes that made my stomach twist just to see. The smell grew stronger, choking, and every few seconds something whispered low against the window glass. Words I couldn't quite hear but felt inside my head, like static crawling behind my eyes. Then, just as suddenly, I broke through. The trees pulled back, stars reappeared overhead, and I saw the main highway glowing faintly ahead. I didn't stop, didn't breathe until I was back in Huntsville, parked under a gas station light, hands shaking so bad I could barely grip the wheel. I tried to tell myself I'd imagined it, that stress and darkness and booze had gotten the better of me. But when I stepped out to pump gas, I saw it plain as day. 5 long scratches gouged into the metal of my passenger door, deep enough to flake paint. They weren't there before. I never told anyone the whole story until now, because I know how it sounds. Like a campfire tale, like something kids dare each other with on Halloween. But I saw it, I smelled it. I still hear those whispers when I wake up sometimes in the dark. And here's the worst part. A few weeks after that night, I checked an old Huntsville forum out of curiosity. Buried in the threads was a post from a woman who lived near the Demon Road. She wrote about hearing children laughing in the woods at night, about pale figures peering in through her windows, about things scratching on her walls. The post ended with her begging someone to help because she was alone out there and scared. No one ever replied. When I went back to find it later, the post was gone. But sometimes, late at night when the house creaks and the wind stills, I catch that same copper-burnt smell drifting through the window, faint but real. And I wonder if the road didn't to let me go at all, if it is still following, still waiting until I make the mistake of turning down some dark street where the trees lean in again. Because roads don't just end. They lead somewhere. And some of them, the ones that feel wrong in your gut, they don't lead out. They lead back.